Simple. Just give me the credit card.
That will ruin your marriage.
No, I think there's got to be a level of understanding. You can't overspend and live within your means. You can't give in to peer pressure. You've got to know who you are. Be comfortable with who you are. Be comfortable with your lifestyle. And I think from that, you know, you don't have these expectations that, oh, you would just go out and earn and I would just go and spend.
I think it's really important from the beginning to actually have some form of budget. Sit down, figure out how much is coming in and how much can actually go out, and just set some limits. And okay, so this how much we have to spend, this how much is coming in. So just make sure that there's a good understanding of money, you know, within the marriage.
I think it's just sitting down and discussing what are priorities and what are luxuries to have. So just having those two categories and creating a budget around that.
We both have incomes coming in and we've shared it. I'll pay for certain things, Ali will pay for certain things. That's our personal way of managing it. That's not Islamic, it's not based on anyone else, it's what we decided to do. And I mean, I'm a shopaholic. I think most women out there love to spend.
We've got to be realistic here. We're living in the West. There was a time in our life where I was the bread earner and I used to bring in all the money and Mahmoud was a student. But once again, it's the balance. I mean, if you love each other, you're happy to support each other. So no, I disagree that it's a man's job to do it, because you're in this partnership together. You know, if you love each other, you will do things together.
I think in life, especially these days, depending on what you want, what your priorities are, what kind of luxuries that you want, you might have to have a combination where you work as a partnership with your spouse. And that's fine too, as long as you have some sort of understanding, it's fine.
I can't cover all the costs on my salary alone. You know, we're talking about whether it's a mortgage or rent and then everything else on top of that. It's just not.
So if you wanted that, if you wanted your husband to pay for everything, you need to buy within your means. For example, your house has to be smaller, for example. What he can afford. You have to shop in accordance to your budget. It's budgeting really, but duty-wise, Islamically, it is your duty.
Yes, it is, yeah.
100%.
No, of course, but if the guy doesn't have that kind of income...
Yes, you can't put that pressure on him.
I think a wife should help her husband financially if the family needs that support. Once again, every situation is different. If your husband is earning enough, then no, you should not need to go to work if you do not want to. But because you love him and if you see him struggling, then yeah, maybe you'd like to help him out there.
Two very important things here. Either you need to work or you love to work, right? And if there may be enough income coming in and you don't need to work, but you want to work, and that's cool. I feel that you should be able to go out and work as long as everything is looked after, right? The house, the kids, whatever. You can find a way to make that happen. But yeah, in this day and age, it may take two of you to be able to work, to be able to bring the kind of level of money, and you need to be able to keep going.
I think that expectation shouldn't be set in stone that she should help her husband financially. But I think as a couple, you need to discuss what your priorities are, and if your priorities are that you want a good lifestyle or you want to do this or do that, and she needs to work and she's happy to work, then yeah, I think it can work both ways, but that expectation shouldn't be set from the beginning that she has to work.
You know, you have a rent or you have a mortgage and you have other costs, and if the man can't cover it, if the husband can't cover it, is the woman going to refuse to share the costs at the expense of possibly kicking us all out of the house, or at the expense of possibly being put in debt and getting the bailiff after us? There are practicalities of life here. You know, if the guy can't earn more for whatever reason, for the sake of the whole family, if the wife is earning, she should definitely contribute to the costs, because these are the dynamics of life these days.
You know, I think the two biggest things you'll ever be tested on is either health or wealth, right? The two biggest things you'll ever be tested upon. and not just the health of you, but the health of your family as well. And so you're going to go through all of those things. So there are going to be times in everyone's life when you're going to be put under immense financial pressure. So yeah, we've had times in our life. There was once when I lost one of my businesses. Things were crazy. Mentally, it was really difficult, right? So you're going to go through those times. But I always know that Allah gives us these times in our life to test us, not just to test us, but to grow us.
Yeah, we went through a very difficult situation, last year. But I think Fatima really supported me in that situation, and she's very positive and said, look, don't worry, we're going to come out of it stronger. Whenever Allah tests us, at the end He opens up so many doors for us. So I think having that comfort, the way she is, she brings a different element. I'm more rigid, structured, while she's more spontaneous. So we work well as a couple.
Yeah, we just always were talking. I remember us always talking about how much we've got at the end of the month or how much we're spending during the month.
It was actually really stressful.
Yeah.
We borrowed a lot, and
but we just had to keep on top of it all, didn't we? We talked about it.
We couldn't at the time, so yeah, it was stressful. I wouldn't borrow that much again. At the time, we weren't thinking. We were excited. We wanted to do up our house. We borrowed quite a lot, and we just weren't realistic about paying it back. But alhamdulillah, we did. We managed to do that, but it was stressful.
On a serious note, this is really, really important, because I've been with people where, one part of the couple has just spent, and it just causes so many problems down the line. So again, it's being able to sit down and have those open conversations, saying, look, this month we've gone well beyond our means. Next month, let's make sure we don't do that. Or having a budget in place, knowing this is how much you're going to spend each and every month, and that's it. And then you cut your cloth accordingly. So those conversations are really important to have. And again, communication, right? You should get to know each other so well that you can have those conversations quite easily.
My card would stop working if I kept on. So he's put a budget thing on the card, and I reached my limit, and I reached my limit. That's really how it's done. And then he says, "Oh, sorry, I think the bank has made a mistake," or something like that. So I won't get too angry with him initially, and then he'll tell me afterwards, "Oh, yeah, it could have been because you exceeded the amount that I had put for you."
I guess in the end, it's about being rational and about being practical and putting things in context. Sure, if you can afford to treat yourself, why not? But it's got to be within certain limits, and it's difficult to. I don't know. For me, it's difficult to give a rule about this. It's just about being rational and sensible. That's how I see it.
When you spend,
and
I
having
get
a conversation. Huh?
When you spend, I get angry.
But when she spends, she's entitled.
I get angry that he questions my spending. I think that's a very man-woman thing. Just don't get angry. Don't fight about it, because fighting's not going to solve the situation. And look at your long-term goals. What do you want to do? Do you want to be financially secure, or do you want to worry about money all the time?